What's up, Facebook? How y'all doing? Hope you're doing well. If you don't already know me, you probably do by now. My name is Marcus Benedict, and I come from down under, specifically down under, that is down under Australia. I come from New Zealand, but recently I actually crossed the ditch and moved to Australia. And I'm trying to generate a stronger online presence and a lot more notoriety online. So one of the ways in which I'm going to do that is I'm going to present to you some ideas that contradict mainstream manosphere ideologies or philosophies. So, for example, in this manosphere, there's a bunch of different groups of men who sort of orientate themselves around a couple of important ideas, and they sort of cling to those ideas. And usually, a lot of the time, there's a lack of nuance, at least in the lower levels. And the higher levels, the more sophisticated you get, the more people understand, the more complex the issues are. But I will say, for now, I have significant disagreements with two of the main manosphere points of view. You could call them, I would describe them as Blackpill and Redpill. And Blackpill, to almost everyone who is not a Blackpiller, is self-evidently false. Blackpill is really someone that who pretty much lives in their parents' basement, clings to, because they don't have at least enough personal experience interacting with members of the opposite sex or other genders. And so Blackpill is really a pill of people. The vast majority of Blackpillers, of course, are not normies. They're not Tyrones and Chads and Changs and all that. They're people who are below the normie level, and so they don't have that experience with women, and so they speculate a lot about what they think their theories of attraction and seduction and connection are, and romance and relationships, but they really have no first-hand clue. You can't say this as much about other manosphere groups like, say, MGTOWs, who are also involved with the red pill. They actually do have experience with women, and that's why they understand the negative side of female nature quite well. And you can see where they're coming from that first-hand experience account. Even though it's probably overly negative a lot of the time, you can definitely tell it's grounded in experience if you've been through toxic relationships and hardships with other genders or opposite sex in your life. So that brings me to the red pill. Now, people might be shocked or surprised. Why would I disagree with the red pill? Or why would I think the opposite to the red pill? Actually, I think the red pill, for the most part, is pretty fucking on point. It's a pretty good ideology. It's a pretty good philosophy. There's a lot of good stuff going on there. Maybe most of the time, probably for me, it's probably a little bit too extreme. It's concentrating a lot on the dark side of human nature. Specifically women's psychology, so it's probably a little excessive in that way for me. I think we should offer a self-critique of men, not necessarily a feminist or progressive critique of men, but a self-critique of men, a sort of a criticism of ourselves, where we show that we are aware of our own flaws just as ardently as we are of everyone else's flaws. I think that would be really cool for the red pill. But I don't want to focus on that for this video. For this video, I just want to focus on one of the central themes, one of the most crucial ideas in red pill consciousness, is basically, especially if it's entangled with pickup artistry, and depending if you're red pill, you could go on different places, different locations. Maybe you're a pickup artist. Maybe you're a gym jock. Maybe you're a personal trainer. Maybe you're a MGTOW. There's different places you can go. Maybe you want to migrate to the east and kind of go all traditional and date an Asian woman or marry an Asian woman. There's different options for different red pillers. But red pill and PUA certainly have a relationship. And one of the key factors that I find, the more PUAs who are red pillers, there's some red PUAs, not everyone who's a PUA is a red pill, and not everyone who's red pill is a PUA, obviously, as we just mentioned. But the ones that are, they have this obsession, they have this central theory that action resolves everything. That there's not a single thing you could do in your life where you're having difficulty, where you're struggling with emotions, with anxiety, with toxic, dark, negative energy. And supposedly action, especially action over a period of time, building up steps, building up momentum, action will eventually resolve everything. And that's the kind of belief system that a lot of red pillars have, and especially a lot of PUAs who are also red pillars, or not even necessarily red pillars, just PUAs. They also have that kind of belief a lot of the time. And this is where I come in. This is where I say, actually, if you view men kind of like a pyramid scheme, kind of like a pyramid there, where at the bottom of the pyramid, you have what could be called the very bottom, basement dwellers and incels and all those kinds of guys. Very close to the bottom, you have kind of like men who are hard case new. Maybe they have mental issues. Maybe they're having extreme forms of anxiety. And the more you go up, the more you get to a more normal kind of level. And then you eventually get to your Chads, your Tyrones, and your Changs at the very top. And you get to very high status, or Leo DiCaprio, and maybe formerly Johnny Depp. I don't know these days if he still can be viewed in that category. But that's the kind of pyramid scheme I have. And so basically in this pyramid, in this analogy of the pyramid, it's the guys at the bottom where they're given this generic red pill advice or this generic PUA advice, and consistently they find out that it doesn't work. And then so a lot of the times they become victims, or they start promoting some kind of nihilistic ideology. Oh, I've tried this for a couple of years, it never works. I actually watched this in real life, especially when I was living in New Zealand. I watched as people who carried out these actions day by day. I never see them not even in a set for like year after year after year. And they were mindfully calibrating with intelligent action, mindful action. And eventually, after year after year after year, after not getting quite enough results, they gave up. And I realized something was off. Like, why is it that this generic advice works better for the people at the top of the pyramid? In the middle of the pyramid, it's a little bit more random whether they can predict success. It depends how long they stay in the game. It depends how much effort and action they're willing to take. But the people at the bottom, the people who are closer to the bottom, no matter how much action they implemented, they just didn't get to the same places as the people in the middle and the men on the top. So I was like, what the fuck is up? What the fuck is happening? And that's when I investigated this. I was doing this myself, and I was like getting extremely frustrated. And then I found a solution. And that's really what my coaching service is about. That's really what this Facebook page is about. That'll be what a lot of what my YouTube channel was about. That's the kind of thing that's going to be I'm going to talk about in the future. And just to put it all succinctly now, basically I think the issue is inner game, but it's not just any kind of inner game. It's kind of like your emotional and your mental health and your psychological welfare and your psychological well-being. And this year happened to be one of my top years. And the reason why is because at the beginning of the year, about February 23rd, it took me almost 2 months, I cured my long-term intense suicidal depression. I cured it. The other thing that I cured in November, I had 2 other ailments, personality disorders they're called in the psychological literature. One is called avoidant personality disorder, and the other one is called the dependent personality disorder. And then in the rest of December, I cured those 2 in November. The rest of December, I spent rewiring, restructuring, and rebuilding my own subconscious. And I've been focusing on that a lot. And I'm now at the point where when I take action, my anxiety is no longer between 40 to 80%. It's more like between 2 to 5%. On a bad day, it might go up between 10 to 20%. But it's never at that terrible level when you have some kind of almost mental inhibition that holds you down or holds you back in some way. And so a lot of people look at people who are doing this kind of stuff and they're like, well, it has to be their looks, or it has to be their status or their money, and that's why they're doing so well. Even though I'm doing the exact same action, I'm not reaping the same consequences. I'm not somehow garnering the same benefits. Well, actually, it turns out that's horseshit, and that's why I'm here. The real reason is that everyone, to some degree or another, even the people at the top to some degree or another, they all have serious mental issues that are entangled with emotions and energy. And so if you guys are interested in kind of figuring out what's your unique problem, what's your unique situation, what's your individual issue that I can help you with, then you want to be like, this generic advice, this broad strokes, this kind of common approach where supposedly every tier of men on the scale supposedly is able to be given the same instruction and increase at a reasonably similar scenario to where they all receive a great outcome of success and results. And I found out that that's fucking bullshit. If you are like me, if you started off really low, then you have to get your act together in another way first. And so that's why I'm inviting you guys to come and comment, come and have a talk to me, PM me, add me as a friend if you want, and we'll see what we can do for you. That is going to be my coaching project for next year as well. So I wish you guys a happy New Year's. I hope you got your New Year's resolutions down. I've already got mine down, and we'll see you next time.